Hey, everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. I'm Anthony, and this is the podcast where connections thrive. Each episode, we spotlight inspiring entrepreneurs, professionals, and individuals doing amazing things. Together, we'll grow your circle, spark collaborations, and discover new opportunities. Today, we're meeting Terry Smith. He's a seasoned HR leader with deep expertise in organizational development, change management, and workforce strategy across startups, mid-cap firms, and Fortune 500 companies. With a strong track record in talent acquisition, total rewards, and executive coaching, Terry is passionate about building systems that empower employees and drive lasting business success. How are you doing today, Terry?
Doing great. Thank you, Anthony. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I was excited to have you on. Really, we were connected through a mutual friend. I really enjoyed our last call. You're doing some really cool things. You're helping a lot of people, and there's a lot of people out there that would benefit from knowing you. So I was excited to have you on. Starting off, where are you located? Where are you calling in from?
Portland, Oregon.
Okay. Are you originally from the area, or are you newer to it?
Yeah, no, I'm originally from here.
Awesome. Well, if you have friends coming into the town that have never visited before, right? Where are you taking them? What are you doing? And what's for dinner?
That's a great question. Well, I'm a beer fan, and there are a few beer breweries here in town, like several hundred of them, I think. And so I'd kind of like to just poke around a little bit, see if there's some new place that I haven't been to yet, and say, hey, let's go try this together, type of thing. And so that's always fun. If people have never been here before and they're going to be here for a while, I usually try and direct them to a couple of things like the Multnomah Falls, places like that are kind of Portland got to see things, right? So,
well, you can't just have beer. What's for dinner?
There are a couple of tremendous sushi places here in town that I really like. There's one not far from where I live that's a real small little place. I mean, maybe 8 tables, and they do a fantastic job, and they're less expensive than everybody else.
That's always
so. I like that, and then there's a couple of really good burger joints here in town too.
Yeah, I like both. When you're saying you're a beer fan, what's your go-to? I recently found out that I like sours.
Okay.
Who knew?
It's kind of a niche,
Yeah,
there's some
it's
good
very
sours.
manly.
I'm an IPA guy.
IPA? Okay,
Yep.
I got you. Like traditional IPAs or like the hazies or whatever they are now?
It kind of depends on what mood I'm in. Generally speaking, a traditional IPA is great, but, a hazy is fun just because it's, the people that are producing the really good hazies in town, they're always trying to come up with some offbeat ways to do things. And some of the local hazies are pretty amazing.
We have some good ones here in Des Moines as well. But anyway, awesome. Well, what can you tell us about what you do?
Well, Anthony, I work in human resources, as you mentioned. I do a lot of work with small to mid-cap firms, with the C-suites, working with the CEO or the COO or what have you. And I've taken on HR leadership roles in a couple of instances and a couple of other scenarios where I've been like more sort of the guide on the side or the not the sage on the stage, but, the person sort of guiding things along and helping with decision making and helping with organization building and so forth. Then that's a little bit more of a sort of a consultative thing as opposed to sort of sitting in the chair and being the sort of interim HR director or what have you. So a little bit of both.
Okay. Well, what got you started doing this? Is this something you always wanted to do? Like in high school, you're like, I'm getting into it no matter what, or was it a happy accident later?
Well, great question. I actually had my father had a friend. We had sort of a family friend who taught a program at the University of Oregon. And as I was going through college and started thinking about what do I want to go do with my life, I knew this guy. I talked to him about it. He said, listen, this is probably something that would really be a great place for you to go. And I can kind of be your mentor through the college program or the graduate program. And that's how it came to be. So friend of the family who happened to run a program.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. What is it that you love most about what you're doing?
It's the people. I mean, it's an easy answer, right? HR people will say that every day. I love working with the people. There's no 2 days that are exactly the same. There's sort of a standard set of answers to that question. But I really do enjoy, working with people and helping them, find in their own career direction the best path for them to go, and help build programs to help them get there, right? And then at kind of a macro level, I really like having that ability to help leaders think through how can their organization be best structured, designed, laid out to be able to support not only the business objectives, but also, how can we help support the growth of the employees, the people that are working here that have aspirations and goals, and how can we help them get there and at the same time have that be something that's additive and effective for the business.
That's awesome. Yeah, I could see why that'd be something you love doing. But okay, when you're looking at like your average client or the average avatar, what are some of the pain points, or what is somebody going through that if they're dealing with X, Y, Z, you're the person they should be talking?
Yeah, kind of along that lines of growth of the individuals. One of the areas that have been working in recently is performance management, right? And that's kind of a loaded phrase. People have a lot of sort of thinking around what does performance management mean, and fundamentally, the way I approach it is, people have a desire to build their own personal capacity, build their professional capability, develop their own personal and professional goals, and a good performance management process and thought process helps them achieve that, and at the same time guides them towards continuing to improve their capacity to do good work in the organization. So that's often what I get started with, right? Is how can we help people get better at what they do and how they do it and grow their capacity, and at the same time how can we be sure that we're meeting our corporate objectives? So that's one pain point. I've done a fair amount of work in compensation as well, and that's always kind of a key thing, right? Are we being competitive with our pay structure? Do we have the right salary structure in place? Do we have the ability to demonstrate a career path through that salary structure that is understandable for people, that people like to, or that people understand how to do, right?
Okay. What about power partners? Who do you synergize well with other industries, other professionals out there that you might find a lot of ability to collaborate with or refer back and forth with?
It's an interesting question. It's kind of across the board. I find, HR folk really like to network with other HR folk, and I find that that's generally pretty effective because there's always sort of a sense that we're trying to help each other out so that we can find, the best ways for ourselves to be able to be helping the people that we serve, which is the employees of the organization and the corporate goals and objectives. So I find that that's a pretty good conduit. But what it really comes down to, what it boils down to most, is just making connections with people across, every part of your existence, right? What I find is that more often than not, programs or projects that I get referred to by people who know me, and who are friends of mine, people I've worked with before, people who know of me through other people. The value of networking cannot be overstated.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't know what you don't know. And what's the saying? It's not what you know or who you know, it's who knows you. So it does
Yeah,
nothing
pretty
but
much.
help you. So
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Okay. What advice would you give to a new or aspiring entrepreneur?
I would say, you know, it's not rocket science. I don't have anything unique. It's resilience. Hang in there. I would say always be thinking in terms of what else can you do when you get to the end of the day and you've done a whole bunch of work on your business or your program or what have you. Give yourself the opportunity to sit back and really relax and think about it. Say, what else could I have done? Or what else can I do tomorrow? What did I learn from today that I can carry into tomorrow? It's always be thinking, always be looking forward, not looking back, looking forward. I think that's probably the one key thing, right? And entrepreneurial endeavors are tough. They're difficult. It's not for everybody. That's why not everybody does it. I think that people who can succeed in it do so by always thinking, what's the next step? Where do I go from here? What do I do tomorrow?
Oh, that's great advice. The ones that succeed are the ones that did it longer than the other ones that quit before.
Right.
Just like you said,
Absolutely.
being resilient and knowing that it's going to be tough, accepting that it's going to be tough, and that you're going to be able to learn from the fact that it's tough. So, no, that's fantastic advice. Awesome. How can small businesses build an effective HR strategy without a large team?
Yeah, it's a question I hear from time to time, and I think fundamentally the answer is being intentional. And what I mean by that is um, making intentional decisions about what you want your human resources profile or your human resources objectives to look like. What do you want um, people who work for you to be able to say to other people who don't work for you what it is to work for you, so that you build a very intentional culture, and really be definitive about what you want that culture to be, right? I find that a lot of organizations kind of fall backwards into culture by default almost, and that's a real challenge because a culture can become what you choose it to be, but you have to choose it. You have to make that intentional very objective. This is how we want our world to be. And this is what we want to be able to describe to other people who want to come in and potentially join the organization, is that we have a very intentional culture around this, whatever it may be. I think that more than anything else will help, an organization start to build their HR capacity, is understanding what people coming into your organization can expect.
Okay. And then how can companies improve employee retention through better organizational development?
Well, it starts with that intentionality, right? I mean, if you're very, very intentional and very clear about your culture and about what you are trying to accomplish, and you are upfront and transparent with your new hires, with your current hires, with all of the people kind of in your world, that this is what we are, this is who we are, this is why we exist, and that you stay with that you don't allow, you don't allow yourself to get way off course. I mean, you can shift and adjust obviously as the org grows, but I mean, if you maintain a set of fundamental, characteristics, and if you're very transparent about it and you're very open to dialogue about it with your employees, I think that's where you can win.
Okay. And then how can leaders manage change effectively during periods of rapid growth or restructuring?
It's kind of the same thing. It's being transparent. It's being very clear about what the direction is that we're taking, why we're taking the direction, and making sure that people have the opportunity to comment on it, to speak to it, right? To talk to, the leaders in either that high growth environment or that, restructuring, change, reorganization. One thing I've found through change management processes over the years is that if leaders rather do not clearly articulate what they're doing, why they're doing it, why it's adding value, understanding what the impact is on the people in the organization, and being prepared to have honest conversations about what that impact is. If you're not doing those things right up front and continuing to do those throughout your, high growth period or your restructuring period, then you're going to not be successful at it. One of the things they teach in the ProSci world of change management is, a model called ADKAR. Without getting into the whole detail of it, it's an acronym, and the very first letter, A, stands for awareness. And people have to be aware of what changes are being considered and why they're being considered, and then that leads to a whole process after that. But yeah, fundamentally being clear.
It seems like it would probably be easy to just make changes that are going to be beneficial, and then not looking at downstream effect. Hey, this is really not working across the entire thing. Great idea, but practically it's not working. So, okay.
Yeah, and and again, a lot of change, leaders, people who are trying to evolve their organization, they run down that road, but they don't stop to think about, as you said, what are the long-term effects, but what's also the backwash, if you will. I'm racing, I'm creating wind, and my employees don't know why I'm doing it, right? And so if you're not bringing them along in the journey, then you're going to not have a successful journey, in my opinion.
That makes a lot of sense. Everybody rowing in the same direction kind of helps, right?
Kind of helps, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, why you? What sets you apart from everybody else out there doing something similar?
A couple things. One, I really try very, very hard to meet leaders where they are. I really want to understand when I come into a contract relationship. I really want to understand where they are, how they got there, why they need the help, and really, as I say, meet them, in their place. And then we can start to build from there. So, and I've known a lot of consultants who, can do that, but they don't always start with that. There's a lot of situations where people kind of say, "Hey, I've got the answer." You don't really need to have the answer. You need to have good questions. You need to be able to ask questions that elicit dialogue, that elicit trust, that elicit transparency, and so forth. So I really try to do that. So that's one. Number two, I'm not a. I try not to. Just say this the right way. I think the challenge is that your client, they're coming to you with something. You want to honor what they know, but you also want to be able to say to them very clearly, that's not working, or that's not working, or this is not a good idea, or that's not a good idea. And sometimes that can be hard. And I like to think that I'm pretty straightforward and pretty honest with my clients, right? They know that what I will tell them will be honest. So I think those two things, meet them where they are and be honest about it.
Yeah, no, that's important. Give it to me straight, right? Let's not make this take 4 or 5 meetings when it could have just been said and done with, and we could have fixed it or
Right.
adopted it or whatever it is. So
Right. Yeah. It's very important to be able to be as succinct and yet as thorough as you can and not sugarcoat anything.
absolutely, awesome. Well, I know the HR world, all of this. There's all the rabbit holes that we could go down, but in general, is there anything that I missed or failed to ask that you wanted to add?
No, you covered, I think, pretty much everything that I would want to talk about. I think the main thing is that we have to start from a position of mutual respect.
For people that have more questions, where can they find you? How can they get a hold of you?
I'm available on LinkedIn. I'm available on my website, and I'm also available directly at my email address, pdxterrysmith@gmail.
Perfect. I'm going to put all that in the show notes so it's super easy to find. If anybody would like to get a hold of Terry, do it, right? He's a wealth of knowledge, and like you said, succinct, right? You're not going to get over answered. You're going to get the answer you're wanting. It's going to help you out. Have the conversation. He's exactly the same in a one-on-one as he is here, so don't be shy. Reach out, have the conversation. If anybody out there would like to get a hold of me, you can visit me at ikag. You can find more episodes, subscribe to our newsletter, and connect with our growing community of awesome people like Terry. If you or somebody you know like to be interviewed, you can also apply on the website. But Terry, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing all this with us. Let's all go have an awesome day. Go out and grow our circles. All right.
Awesome. Anthony, thank you so much. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here.
It's my pleasure.